هذا هو التعمق المعماري في تبني الرقمي هذا الأسبوع، حيث نتجاوز العناوين لفحص الأنماط المعمارية التي تشكل التحول الرقمي. تركز هذه الحلقة على إعادة ضبط القدرات الموزعة في المجال الاستراتيجي، وكيف أنها تخلق ضغطاً عبر الذكاء الاصطناعي والأمن السيبراني. أنا الدكتور دارين، لنبدأ التحليل. This week makes one thing clear. Distributed capabilities are becoming one system, not separate projects. You can see it in an AI company giving a European security agency access to its model. You see it in a report on infrastructure that links compute power across sites. And you see it in new chips pushing AI closer to physical operations. It may look like a technical update. It is not. This is a reset of decision rights, governance, and the operating model. If this feels like a tooling story, it is not. This is not a capability failure. It is a decision failure. You face the same pattern when edge use expands, security comes after design, and accountability stays split across teams. In a pilot store, a factory, or a data center, value stalls when standards do not align. The next move is clear. Leaders need one operating cadence across architecture, security, and workforce change. Across this week's stories, the same pattern is emerging. It spans more than one domain. An AI company gave a European security agency access to its model. At the same time, a report on distributed infrastructure and physical computing chips showed capabilities moving outward. They are shifting to the edge. They are moving into field operations. At first glance, that may look like simple technical expansion. It is not. It is a redesign of decision rights across the enterprise. This is not a capability failure. It is a decision failure. For your team, that means every local launch creates new dependencies. Those dependencies touch security, operations, and job changes. From an architectural view, decision rights are being pulled together. They are moving from separate teams into one governance model. In a factory or service center, progress stalls when decision-making is unclear. Who decides? Who reviews? Who executes? You see it when AI starts operating outside the cloud. You see it when the edge needs a shared backbone. You see it when compliance becomes part of the design. It can look like a tools problem. It is not. It is a change in operating cadence, not just the control panel. Speed without decision rights becomes fragmentation. This is an organizational problem. In strategic terms, it means deciding what gets funded, what gets measured, and what gets priority across sites and teams. First, leaders need a new enterprise game plan for distributed value creation. What looks like simple expansion in edge AI or security is really changing the assumptions behind investment and governance. An AI company opened access for a European security organization. That shows trust and decision-making are now part of the design, not an add-on. Second, the operating cadence has to match real-world delivery. In a warehouse, a factory, or a fleet, a local solution is not enough if standards stay inconsistent, if responsibilities stay unclear, if the infrastructure dependencies do not align. Another example, chips built for robots or vehicles show that value is moving into field operations, not just demos. Third, transformation momentum depends on value criteria, not deployment counts. When success is measured only by launches, the gap grows between technology and adoption. Security, operations, and HR teams struggle to adapt. Distributed reset means leaders revisit funding, ownership, and success metrics across edge computing, AI, cybersecurity, and digital transformation together. If this layer fails, operational resilience suffers, organizational trust weakens, commercial scale slows, and impact drops across multiple pillars at once. That distributed shift is showing up clearly in AI decisions. This week, the signals move beyond cloud experiments. They are now inside factories, vehicles, and devices. At the same time, broader AI adoption is spreading through daily work. The pressure is shifting to team readiness and operating methods. It is no longer just about buying the tool. You might think this is only a technology update. It is not. It is reshaping who decides where capability gets deployed. It is reshaping who reviews it and who owns its impact. If you miss that, the first thing to break is operational approval. The site team waits on security. Security waits on a use definition. Operations wait on one decision about connectivity, trust, and boundaries. Then every new launch creates ownership confusion, not speed. For your team, this means AI no longer lives in a separate digital layer. It pressures strategy, organization, process, physical systems, and digital systems at once. Strategically, value is moving into field use cases. Organizationally, responsibilities shift with every deployment. Procedurally, delivery, training, and change management move at different speeds. Physically, power, trust, and response times enter the design. Digitally, integration with the real system becomes required for results. You might see this as a pure technology problem. It is not. It is a workforce and operating model reset with architectural consequences. The architectural lesson here runs against common practice. Most teams improve the model itself. The real constraint is decision readiness and operational readiness outside the model. If you do not settle who owns deployment and approval, adoption will fail before value appears. This is not a capability gap. It is a decision gap. Stabilize it with one operating cadence. Link permission, review, delivery, and impact measurement in one steady rhythm. The pressure is showing up in cybersecurity now. This week, a European regulator allowed direct access to an AI system for inspection. At the same time, experts warned that connected cars collect sensitive data. A European report also showed that security maturity is improving, but unevenly across sectors. The message is simple. Security is no longer a later layer. It is part of design, funding, and oversight decisions. If you ignore that, the first thing to break is trust between teams. Product waits for verification. Verification waits for risk definitions. Operations waits for clear deployment limits. Then approvals slow down, ownership blurs, and response time grows longer. In your environment, this pressure hits strategic, organizational, process, physical, and digital all at once. The strategic layer is affected because trust is now a market entry requirement. The organizational layer is affected because responsibility is spread across security, engineering, and compliance. The process layer is affected because review happens after the build is already done. The physical layer is affected because the car, the device, and the sensor have all become attack surfaces. And the digital layer is affected because combining service and product creates new data and new risks. You might see this as a pure technology problem. It is not. It is a reset in who decides, who reviews, and who carries the risk. The architectural lesson here is the reverse of what many teams do. Most improve monitoring tools. The real constraint is clarity on acceptance boundaries before release. If you do not settle who approves launch and who can block it, adoption fails before impact is proven. The decision stalls before value even begins. Stabilize it with one compliance boundary. That defines where review starts, where it ends, and what enters daily governance. That distributed shift is now showing up in edge computing. This week brought clear signals. A unified architecture model is linking compute across locations. A tightened working paper is shaping a shared cloud program. And reports are confirming the edge does not stand alone. It depends on storage, connectivity, and central loading. In one clear practical case, a nearby site needs a new node. But it stalls because central storage and networking are not ready yet. The local decision is there. The shared foundation is not. If you ignore that, the first thing to break is handoff between teams. The site waits for the core service. The network team waits for the interface definition. Operations wait for one clear ruling on ownership and dependency. Then every new addition becomes a queue, not an expansion. For your team, this puts pressure on strategy, organization, process, physical, and digital together. Strategically, Edge is no longer a standalone choice. It is an enterprise-level bet. Organizationally, responsibility spreads across the site, the platform, and shared services. Operationally, coordination between teams becomes part of daily work. Physically, the edge depends on capacity elsewhere. Digitally, integration across sites and systems becomes a condition for operation. You might see this as a pure technology problem. It is not. It is a reset in who decides the shared backbone and who owns its effects. The architectural lesson here runs against what many teams do. Most improve the edge node itself. The real constraint is coordinating the edge with the backbone before scaling. If no one settles who governs the shared architecture, expansion will fail before response time proves itself. The decision will lag before the value appears. Stabilize it with one reference architecture. That locks the relationship between sites and central services. And it keeps expansion connected to the foundation. Across these themes, the same trade-off keeps returning: speed versus consistency. The trap is capability without governance. In cybersecurity, it appeared when regulatory scrutiny became immediate, while delivery teams still waited on clear ownership and inspection boundaries. At the distributed edge, the same pattern showed up when sites moved faster than shared storage and connectivity. In digital transformation, it returned again when teams launched technology before redesigning the work itself. The architectural message is clear. Distributed scale creates value faster, but it multiplies the cost of ambiguity. That cost rises when no one defines who decides, who reviews, and who carries the impact. This is not a tooling problem. This is an operating design problem. When leaders fund capability faster than they define decision rights, momentum turns into queuing. For your portfolio, that means every distributed program needs one decision point. It should connect security, platform, operations, and measurement before scaling begins. Written policies are not enough without execution capacity, clear ownership boundaries, and fixed review timelines. That is why the delays keep repeating across different domains. Approvals slow in security. Scaling slows at the edge. Adoption slows after launch. The patterns that break fastest are the ones managed as separate parts, then expected to behave like one system. Capability without governance. Distributed ownership. Late review. Stability starts with decision rights. 3 leadership decisions are emerging from that pattern. The first is strategic. You can centralize shared architecture and decision rights, or you can let each domain extend locally. Centralized control keeps momentum after the EU cybersecurity access shift. It also supports the edge architecture push. Local drift creates duplicate platforms and stalled approvals. You also need one ownership model for AI, edge, and security dependencies, or program teams will negotiate them case by case. One model keeps transformation moving as physical AI enters operations. Case-by-case bargaining turns every deployment into a new settlement. This may sound like a tooling problem. It is not. This is not a capability failure. It is a decision failure. The second decision is organizational. You can anchor responsibility to enterprise control objectives, or let local teams carry hidden risk. Enterprise ownership strengthens accountability when teams deploy AI in field settings. Hidden risk spreads friction across the portfolio and slows adoption. The pattern is easy to see. A site team requests a new edge node. The storage path is unclear. The network handoff is unclear. The launch slips. The third decision is process. You can fix one operating cadence for review, or let each program invent its own gates. A fixed cadence speeds compliance boundary decisions. It also shortens queue time. Ad hoc reviews freeze funding and weaken trust. For your next move, lock the reference architecture, the ownership model, and the review rhythm. Those 3 choices prevent distributed capability from fragmenting into local wins and enterprise loss. Quietly, the picture becomes clearer. The pattern is consistent. Distributed capability is accelerating, but transformation slows when ownership and boundaries stay unclear. Here, architecture brings decision clarity. It aligns teams. It prevents overlap. As we saw when security approval stalled, teams kept waiting. They were waiting for accountability. They were waiting for the scope of review. For your next steering meeting, focus on who owns the decision. Focus on who reviews the impact. And focus on the pace that protects execution. Next week, we continue with that same quiet discipline.
هذا يختتم غوصنا المعمقة في العمارة لهذا الأسبوع. إذا استمتعت بهذه الحلقة، فالرجاء أن تمنحنا 5 نجوم على منصتك المفضلة أو على يوتيوب. وإذا أردت التعمق أكثر، فانضم إلى مجتمعنا على باتريون وابحث عن Embracing Digital. إلى اللقاء في المرة القادمة. أنا دكتور دارين، واصل طرح الأسئلة الصعبة وواصل احتضان الثورة الرقمية.